So maybe, yeah, that's right. You have a lot of experience with that. Maybe we can just export stuff and import it. I just want to real quick show this, see if we can make it a page yet. Yes, I think that might be coming soon. The ability to like turn this into a page. That's obviously a very important thing that we want them to have that feature ready before we can move over. But then once they have that, we're not doing too much crazy stuff in Notion. A lot of it is just like tables and pages, and we can do a lot with that. So you can create these bounties in here. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure they add Fox. I'll reach out to them about that. But yeah, feel free to jump in there and start playing around, and then we'll keep in touch with them and let everyone know once it's a little bit more ready to migrate. But this will be great because right now, yeah, Notion, you can't pay Notion with fiat, right? So the foundation was going to pay for Notion for a bit, but that's just a temporary thing, right? And so pretty cool to see things like decentralized versions of Notion already making such good progress. All right. Anyone have a topic or question they want to bring up? Thank you, Seth, for the last one. As a reminder, any topics are fair game. Doesn't have to be about the DAO or about crypto, all those usually work pretty well.
I was going to ask if anybody knows anything about the new HODL vaults on Ichi.
I know a small amount. And Brian, I've been talking to Brian about it. What it is it's very similar to an angel vault, but it is a vault which would be for our token. If we did a Fox HODL vault, it would actually be paired with Ichi. And I can't remember which is the buy side, which is the sell side. But anyways,
like an LP?
It's a managed Uniswap V3 position in the pool. It manages a position on a pool of Ichi and whatever our token is. And I don't fully understand it, but basically Brian reached out. He thought that it might even be could provide a better yield and safer yield than even tokamak reactors, like for just depositing Fox into it. And that's I think that is one thing too, is that you would just, okay, so that's how it works. It's basically a big Fox buy wall. I don't know. Yeah, we need to hear it from Brian. He had mentioned that we could get one, but he didn't want it to be necessarily a DAO thing. He wanted to see just have some individuals in the community basically who had some Fox whales, like at least launch it with their Fox, like ensure that we could at least get I think $5 million of Fox in there is what he was saying. And then they would launch a HODL vault for us. I do remember. They want to specifically, the HODL vaults are specifically targeted towards, they're going to do some of the top cryptos like ETH, Wrapped Bitcoin, top cryptos by market cap. And you're going to be able to just deposit like ETH in there and get yield. I'm blanking on exactly how it all works. We talked about it briefly, and I was like, it was intriguing enough where I was like, okay, let's get a call to some of these Fox whales so that they can hear you out. And then I think we're still working to figure out a time between him and the whales.
Okay, because it's weird that they launched it and then they have a link to the documents, but it says coming soon, and there really isn't any other information about it. So I was just curious if anybody knows. And there's only one token on there, and the ROI is 0%. So it seems like a beta version or something.
Yes, I don't think they've actually launched any HODL vaults yet, or maybe there's that one.
There's the Gano token.
I did see that. Yeah, Gnosis token.
But on mainnet, which is, so I guess that's the ERC20 version of it.
Okay. Yeah, Gnosis was originally an ERC20 token. We supported it on ShapeShift. You could trade for it back in the day. And then they completely pivoted pretty much. Like their original thing was all prediction markets like Augur. And then they had Gnosis Safe, Gnosis Auction, and now Gnosis Chain and CowSwap and stuff are.
I saw that and I'm like, oh sweet, they've got a something on Gnosis, but it's just the token on mainnet.
Yeah, it's definitely that'll be confusing for a bit. Sure, people understand the difference between Gnosis token and Gnosis Chain and CowSwap and how it all fits together. So yeah, I think we all need to learn more about the HODL vault. It is on our radar, and it's possible that we'll have a Fox
Why?
HODL vault, but need to learn more about it.
Why?
Why what?
Exactly.
All right. Well, yeah. Would anyone like to ask a question? We need a little bit more detail than just why. But any questions are welcome. Why it starts to get into just too existential discussions.
Hi, I have a question. If that's okay.
Please.
I was basically have a small amount of Fox, obviously hoping to get more, but I'm interested in doing some single side staking, and I've read a few of the documents. I just wondered, being as we were right here with the community, whether I could ask for any particular advice or guidance, because I can see there's a few different options there, and I see things are opening and closing and some changes. So I just thought I'd ask why I'm here.
And you did, Arwen, you already read that one article about what you can do with your Fox that came out the other day?
No, I was reading it, and so I'm like, okay, there's a few options basically, and I just wondered if obviously they offer different things. But I just wondered if there was a feeling within the community of which of the things that were possible to do were preferable at the moment in the long term, basically, because I'm not trying to take it out anytime soon, but I really want to do single side staking, basically.
Yeah, I would love to hear the community's thoughts on their preferences. One thing that will help us make the decision, do you mind sharing how much Fox you're looking to put to work right now? Is it like less than 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, more than 10,000? Arwen? Arwen, you're muted if you're talking.
Maybe we could just offer, like, if you're less than 1,000.
There we go. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, sorry, I just unmuted. Yeah, I think I'm less than 1,000. I'm just trying to find out on my app. Yeah, it's just like $150 basically, or something. I've got 450 Fox more or less. I might get a few more before I do it, but that's kind of, I'm thinking less than like $500, I guess.
And are they on main? Or are these on?
They're on mainnet, and normally I wouldn't have done this, but being as gas is like 22 Gwei, I'm like, I'm going to keep them in my wallet otherwise anyway, so I don't mind. They can stay for years as far as I'm concerned, but I'd rather just put them to use if I can.
I'm a big fan of tokamak because it's single-sided and the ROIs are pretty high and you're earning a non-correlated asset. So, well, you're not a lot of, like, you could do single-sided staking and earn more Fox or something like that in some situations, but I enjoy earning not Fox, like earning toke, something else. And it's very gas efficient, especially right now. That's just my 2 cents.
That's cool, actually. Yeah, I've been wanting to get involved in toke for ages since it came out, so maybe gives me a good excuse to go over there. That's really helpful.
They also offer a lot of things too. Sorry, like ETH. You can put just straight ETH in there too, and at least your ETH's doing something for you. Sorry, Gray, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, if it's, if we're talking 450 Fox or so, like, to make the we were just talking about how gas prices are super low. Like, I've seen it get down to 18 or whatever. Like, if you could just wait it out and, in fact, set an alert or something like that, and hit it when it's really low, and then approve the toke. I think you have to approve it. I think it's just 2, right? You have to like sign and approve, and then
I'm making an ERC 721 contract. It's an NFT, is it? The tokamak, is that how it works? Expensive.
No NFTs.
No. I used Advisor Finance a while ago, and I found them at the time. I mean, just what I had, I guess, I think, but they were really cool. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll have a look at tokamak actually, because they seem super cool.
Yeah, and then you'll
saw them actually. Even though I was not in touch with you guys, I sort of saw in the background following Toke, and then I saw them voting to get Fox, and I was like, "Go on, guys, that's the spirit." So that's cool that you recommend those guys.
Yeah, and then you'll earn Toka rewards, and then you can restake those as well, and then those will earn a different APR. So definitely worth doing.
Absolutely, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Love Gramagene's suggestion too to like lowball the gas fees or set alerts. Another thing you guys can do too, I love doing this, is if you have in MetaMask, if you're using MetaMask, you can enable under advanced settings, custom gas features or advanced gas features. I forget what they call it. And then you can just lowball the gas cost. So like even if gas right now is 33, you could just broadcast your transaction at 21 Gwei. And then as soon as the gas prices drop to that, it'll get included in the block. It doesn't work great if you have multiple transactions you want to do at once, because you're because of nonces, your subsequent transactions won't get confirmed until the prior ones that are pending are all confirmed. But if you just have one transaction to do or two transactions to do, you can totally just lowball them and wake up the next morning and hopefully they're executed. Also, on the tokamak strategy, one thing I did want to mention is that Foxy is like less than a month, hopefully, away. Foxy is built on tokamak. And once Foxy is live, just staking your Fox for Foxy is going to be the best way it's going to be the best option on mainnet for single-sided Fox staking. And the reason for that is that it's going to be automatically compounding, so you won't have to pay gas fees yourself to compound. The Foxy contract will do that with all of the Fox that's staked together. And also, right now tokamak is the best kind of source of single asset yield for Fox on mainnet. But the next version of Foxy will also support other strategies. So if there's a better strategy out there than tokamak, if one of those ever pops up, then basically without even just by holding Foxy, you'll be getting exposure to the best sources of yield, that are also reasonable risk. So Fox is going to be awesome. I don't know if you want to wait a month for it, but just know that that's on the horizon. And once that's live, that should be the best way to get yield. And the cool thing about it is it'll take out the guesswork for you as a user, because you'll just be able to stake Fox, get Foxy. And the one big important thing I left out too is that the DAO can also, this is how they can share revenues generated by the DAO, profits generated with Fox token holders. So it'll not only be the tokamak yield compounded, but it'll also be boosted by additional revenue streams.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Willie. I'm driving, and that's where I wanted to jump in. I'm a fan of tokamak as well, but at the same time, I think Foxy is going to have some huge benefits for people that want a single side stake with just utilizing their Fox and then minting the Foxy token and just holding it and letting it accrue over time.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna, you know what? You convinced me twice. I'm gonna look at tokamak. I'm gonna hold my Fox for now. Maybe it can help accumulate some more Fox in the meantime, and then I'll stick it in the Foxy, because Foxy just sounds better. But thanks for telling me everything. I really appreciate the alpha.
Question about that. The Foxy don't you get that in the tokamak thing, or is that somewhere? How are you gonna mint that?
You're gonna stake Fox into the Foxy contract, which is deployed right now, but is currently being audited, so we haven't launched it. But yeah, we have beautiful UI UX ready to go in V2 for staking Fox for Foxy, redeeming Foxy for Fox, and like viewing your Foxy balance. And without going too deep into it, there's probably a lot of other DAOs that want this. Ichi's already kind of tentatively planning to use this for their own governance token, and probably a lot of this is like a really great evolution over traditional governance tokens, especially for any project who has a tokamak reactor. So like I think ideally we'll get Sushi to ditch their X Sushi contract and like upgrade to a Sushi Y contract, because it's just a lot better. Instead of all the Sushi sitting there idly doing nothing, it's deployed into tokamak, plus it's boosted by tokamak yield. And yeah, we could potentially make this available as a service, like Olympus Pro style, Foxy Pro, and help other projects deploy their own yield-bearing version of their governance token. Thanks, never was. All right, if there's no other questions on that topic or points to be made, thank you, Arwen, for that question. We do have an anonymous question in the Ask Anything forum. This question says, GM, last night Ichi Vault had a $1.25 million deposit. The APY descended to 43%. Should we expect APY to get back over to 100%? Great question. So to answer that question, I'll take a stab at it. There's kind of two main things that determine the APY, right? The amount staked, and then the price of Fox because the rewards are in Fox right now. So there's a couple ways for APY to get back to up to 100%. Fox price could double, or less liquidity could be staked in the Angel Vault. The strategy we talked about yesterday of enabling the adding each Angel Vault LP, one Fox Angel Vault LP to Rari pool, and then adding Fox rewards as an incentive there. That should boost this APY on the Angel Vault because people will unstake their, if it goes according to plan, people will unstake their Angel Vault LP from the staking rewards contract on Ichi. They'll deposit it into Rari, and then they'll borrow USDC against it, and then get more one Fox, deposit more to the Angel Vault. But it should actually end up being less than their initial deposit in the Angel Vault, and there's going to be additional rewards added. Basically, overall, there's going to be more rewards for having this Ichi Angel Vault LP, and some amount's going to move over to the Rari pool because the APY is going to be super high over there if none does. And so yeah, I do expect that that's going to help us increase the APY in the short term, and then once we get a strong Angel Vault, if that supports the Fox price and Fox price goes up, that will also support the APY increasing. Any other thoughts on that or questions about that?
I have a question somewhat related. The deposit instead of the vault, like app.ichi.org/deposit, is that end at the end of the month and then we'll put more attention on the vault? Or how are they related, I guess? I still don't understand that.
You're talking about the one Fox staking rewards?
Yeah.
Yes, those are coming from Ichi, and those end at the end of this month.
Okay.
So
it looks like there's 4 million one Fox in there, which seems like a lot.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one Fox afterwards, but it's going to be pretty compelling, I think, for a lot of one Fox holders to deposit into the Angel Vault. So that's what I hope to see. I don't think all of it will migrate, but I'm hoping that a decent chunk of that existing one Fox that's staked for Ichi rewards will just get deposited into the Angel Vault.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? Cool. I got some one Fox in there, so I like to see it come back up. Ooh, I have a topic if no one else does. I see John's on the call. John, would love to chat with you about this. Also, who else was on the Olympus call this morning? Hunt was there. Ron, are you on here? Ron was there. And Josh was there as well, but Josh is not on the call right now. John, are you tuned in right now?
Hey, Will. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had to get unmuted.
Hey. So we had a call with Olympus today to talk about the strategy of attempting to acquire like 80 to 90% of the Fox ETH LP tokens. And it was a really good discussion. And by the end of it, kind of we haven't shared this yet, but kind of like we actually think that a better move than ramping up purchases on the Fox ETH LP tokens is actually just even ending that program entirely. And instead adding ETH bonds, just buying ETH, and allocating more to the USDC bonds. The reason for that is that right now when we're acquiring this Fox ETH LP token, we're buying it at a discount, and we're buying half of the Fox that we're buying. Half of the liquidity we're buying is Fox. So we're basically like buying Fox with Fox at a discount. Instead, the DAO could just buy ETH and get more ETH, for the same amount of Fox that it's putting out, and then use Fox from its own treasury to provide liquidity if it wanted to provide liquidity there. But we even thought that potentially an even better strategy would be to really focus on the USDC purchases. And I like the idea of adding ETH bonds there as well. But one strategy, if we want protocol-owned liquidity, the whole idea here is to increase protocol-owned liquidity and negate the risk of when these liquidity mining programs end. Increasing USDC bonds and then actually pairing that USDC with Fox to mint one Fox and depositing into the Angel Vault so that we basically have like a protocol-owned buy wall could be a really great strategy and a better strategy than just trying to buy 80% of our Fox ETH LP, knowing that a lot of this most of the Fox ETH LP isn't coming from existing LP holders, but it is coming from newly created Fox ETH LP, which is not a very efficient strategy, we've realized. What are your initial thoughts on that? Because I know it's different than the initial plan that the community supported, but by the end of that call, we were all pretty much in agreement that was a better strategy. Plus, it's a lot easier for people to. It's a better experience for the bonders to just bond ETH than having to go like buy Fox ETH liquidity and then bond that.
That sounds awesome. I'm sorry I missed that. I just wasn't on my radar. I think that's more sustainable, and if the objective is DAO and liquidity, I think Fox B2, I mean like B2 ETH, sorry, Uniswap B2 LP is maybe not the most efficient either. So like widening the lens of like what is our possible avenues to own more DAO liquidity, I think that gives us more options as well. So I like the flexibility of it.
Yeah, so I actually suggested to the TMDC months ago that we should consider an ETH bond on top of the USDC bond. They all wanted to start with USDC for a number of good reasons, and that was fine. That's interesting. I'm not necessarily against the idea. I don't know that I 100%. I guess I can see how that can be more efficient in some ways. I wouldn't necessarily want to totally stop the LP bonding. Personally, I still think that's been beneficial, and I think there is a benefit to just getting the LP tokens directly into the treasury. But perhaps more of the effort should just be redirected towards USDC and ETH bonds, like you're saying, and then perhaps we can use that to do things like you're saying, both to create more various forms of LP, paired with ETH. Or something like growing the Angel Vault buy wall, which I think is another interesting experiment. I don't know if those should be conflated with this particular thing, but it's certainly worth discussing. I don't necessarily feel super strongly one way or another. And the original idea, yeah, to your point, was to more or less just to get a large amount of the protocol and liquidity. If there's a better way to do that, I'm certainly open to that. Whatever we think as a community would be the best. I'm not like so tied to it that I don't want to see it. I'd be a little worried about cold turkey stopping those LP bonds, which have been effective. But if we have another strategy that goes with that, we could certainly reduce them considerably.
Very cool. Yeah, what would you say, for example, of if we just took the existing amount of Fox that was allocated to Fox ETH bonds and then just put that instead to just ETH bonds? Like, what do you think of just that strategy? And would you still want to continue the Fox ETH purchases as opposed to just buying ETH?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to think about that.
I think it's a bigger market too. Like there's more ETH holders out there than Fox LP token holders. Like it's easier for an end user to bond ETH than to go through several more steps of making an LP token and bonding it. So I like that part too.
No question, it's easier, and we've seen that with the USDC bonds, and there's huge benefits of that. And it does get you a non-correlated asset into the treasury. So all those things are useful. I guess one thing is that Fox just. So one thing that's beneficial right now when the LP bond happens is that basically half of what is going out is also getting relocked up, more or less, back in the LP. So like when someone sells us their Fox ETH LP and then we give them, whatever that worth is in Fox, you can kind of think of it that like half of that Fox is getting locked right back up as part of the LP. When we get a straight ETH bond, yes, the treasury could then go pair it with Fox that it already has and put that in an LP if it wants to. But also that's just additional Fox at that point, I guess. Or put another way is like, then 100% of that emission is going out compared to 50% of it, or around 50% of it. So in a way that actually increases emissions, even with the same amount. Maybe that's fine, but that's something we should consider when we think about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like maybe do we actually would acquire 50% of the amount of ETH that we're acquiring if we to not actually increase the total emissions or stock to flow. That is a good point. But I still
it's something we should think about. I'm not saying one way or another that is or is not the right way to do it, but yeah. It's something we shouldn't be naive to, because it's certainly possible.
Sweet. Well, thanks for having the open mind. I knew you would and stuff, but yeah, I like that we can always just be asking what's the best strategy and how can we DAO even better. So glad that we're open to it.
Yeah,
Well,
it is a
sorry.
large enough change that we should talk about it with the community. And I don't know. I mean, we did delegate a lot of that to the bond committee. So if the bond committee thinks that's the best way to utilize that, I think ultimately, if they're going towards the goal of protocol and liquidity, it's probably fine. But it is pretty different than what the community approved. So we just need to think about that too.
Totally. What were you gonna say, Marley?
Yeah, I've just been thinking a lot about the Bancor idea from yesterday and the call from like 4 o'clock yesterday. Just so if the target's to have like 10 million to 20 million of LP tokens, if we could, and that's to create like depth. In my mind, we could also deploy $20 million of Fox into a Bancor pool, potentially if they up the limits or whatever a lot. And then there's nothing being sold there. It accomplishes the same thing of providing lots of liquidity, and then the Fox is doing something. It's not exactly the same, but it's also I feel less risk in a Bancor pool. So I've just been trying to I've slept on it and I'm still thinking about it a lot. I think that's a very unique potential opportunity.
My only concern or question from that call yesterday with the Bancor stuff is just I still don't fully get why the Treasury would do that rather than put it into token reactor and specifically there could be a world here. I think they're considering it, although we might need to talk with token. I know we asked them the question, but if Bancor was added as one of the exchanges that Tokamak could direct to, a better strategy would be to put it in the token reactor and then simply direct it to Bancor. And then you get the best of both worlds rather than having to basically choose.
Agreed. That was my concern too. I wasn't convinced by what they were saying yet that it would make more sense to put Fox into Bancor versus Tokamak because it was we'd only be earning those trade fees, and whereas Tokamak rewards are super solid. But I love the idea of Bancor should just go partner with Tokamak because that could be the ideal AMM to deploy Tokamak liquidity to because it's got that built-in and permanent loss protection.
Yeah, that would seem like the ideal to me. Is you get your 20% in toke for the Treasury, plus you then direct it to Bancor and get that added benefit. But right now, I don't see how the opportunity cost of that makes sense. And I mean, there could be an advantage to adding some millions of Fox in there just for liquidity reasons, but it doesn't make sense to me compared to just putting that in Tokamak, getting the 20% plus, and then potentially directing it there. Unless Bancor is going to offer 20% plus or rewards or something in BNT, but I don't think that. Based on my questions yesterday, they seemed to say that wasn't the case.
I'm not proposing either removing it from the Tokamak reactor. We could deploy more unused Fox also to just create points and liquidity.
No, I understand that, Marley. It's the opportunity cost of why not just put that unused Fox more into the token reactor.
Fair.
Yeah, it's not about removing it from the reactor. It's about if we're going to take another 20 million Fox or whatever the number is, why not just put that in the token reactor where we get 20% on it, and also don't have impermanent loss problems. We
should ask Bancor that though when they put this up. We should be like, hey, we'd consider it if you guys juiced up some Bancor stuff, or maybe that's pretty good. We'll see what they're willing to offer us, right? Because they're going to have to make a pretty good case for us to want to do that.
Yeah, and if ultimately the solution is simply they partner with Tokamak and Bancor becomes one of the places you can direct liquidity, then that solves the problem entirely because now you can have both.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, we're about 5 minutes over. This has been an awesome discussion. Thank you, everybody. Feel free to keep chatting if you want to. I got to hop over to this product chat. So thank you, everybody. Hope you have a good GM. And I'm going to be out next couple of days for this engineering retreat. But hope you guys all have a great weekend and look forward to rejoining next week and giving you guys the